Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining me today. My name's Courtney James. I use she, her, and her pronouns, and I serve as the Director for Student Involvement at DePaul University in Chicago, Illinois. Today, I'm going to be talking about utilizing streaming for student engagement. So before we get started, I wanted to take a minute and first tell you a little bit about DePaul. So DePaul as a university has about 16,000 undergraduate students and 8,000 graduate students. We're located in Chicago, Illinois, and are the nation's largest Catholic institution. In terms of our current in-person offerings, we've got about 1.6% of our classes that are taking place in person for fall quarter. And for winter quarter, we're really going crazy here and are planning to a little over double that and have about 4.2% of our classes in person for winter quarter. Although that does include a 2-week at the start of the winter quarter. For 2 weeks, we're going to be fully virtual as students acclimate back to the city. Currently for fall quarter, our residence halls were at about a 10% capacity. As we head into winter quarter, we're going to be looking to slightly increase that. We're going from about 250 students to about 400, but still not nearly what we're able to host. And then our current limitations around in-person gatherings are limited to 25 or less. The caveat about that is that, as many of you are probably experiencing, that number fluctuates a whole lot depending on what is going on in the city of Chicago and the state of Illinois. We may be at a point in the very near future that we're limited to 6 to 10 people, or we might go up to a point where we're allowed to have 50. But in terms of where we're at currently, we are at that 25 number, so which is obviously much smaller than what we are typically used to. So before I dive too far into the presentation, I also wanted to go over a little bit about a framework that we used here in DePaul's Office of Student Involvement when we turned to a virtual environment last March. So like many of you, we really spent some time thinking about how could we effectively serve our students in this new type of environment. And what we decided on was that we were going to focus in these 4 core areas. The first area was social media engagement. So we wanted to think about how we could promote activations for students that they could experience from their home. Looking at things like DePaul Pet Day, themed days, other things like that they could engage from a remote setting, but still connect to the university. And we also wanted to focus on sharing information about other virtual experiences that external groups were organizing. Especially towards the start of this pandemic, I think we're all well aware that there were a lot of major name artists that were doing things. So we really took it upon ourselves to make sure that students were knowing about some of those things that were going on. Our second bucket was really reimagining traditional student activities. So we wanted to think about how we could do virtual coffee houses, open mic nights, bingo nights, things like that, that students might experience on campus, but just now how we could think about it and how we could do that in a virtual setting. Our third bucket was series programming. So we really spent some time thinking about weekly recurring programming. We do this a lot on campus in terms of alcohol alternative programming, but we wanted to make sure that we found a way and a space, if it made sense for us to continue it in a virtual environment. And then finally, our fourth bucket that we thought about when we initially pivoted last March was how we could promote virtual gatherings of students. So how we as an office and as a department could provide resources to students so that they could organize. We know that we're the facilitators for a lot of things, and we had to really show them and pave the way and help them through this transition. So we spent quite a bit of time thinking about all of those different areas in terms of how we could support our students. I share this model because as we turn to virtual, or as we turn to streaming, we still really used a lot of these different buckets. We even pivoted how we were doing some of those reimagined traditional student activities, how we were leaning into social media, how we started doing different series programming in a virtual environment, which I'll be talking a little bit more throughout the course of my presentation here. So before I really go any further, I do have to pause for a second and give credit where credit is due. So this idea wasn't actually mine. I attended a session from Oneoff Events with Melissa Beer. If you are familiar with Melissa's company, Rebel, I attended an event that they did back in August where she hosted a virtual events showcase. And honestly, the event was so well produced that while I was watching, I was like, wow, it must have taken Melissa hours and days to fully produce this and to get all of these people coordinated and get this event up and running in the way that it did. And the moment that I realized that it was actually happening live was because there was, as you see here, a chat box going on. It was through her website. This is the follow-up from YouTube. But there was a chat box on her website, and I typed a comment like, hey, it was great to see one of the vendors that we frequently work with. And my comment appeared on screen. And honestly, I was just very surprised that it was this well produced, and yet I was engaging with real time. At that time in August, I think a lot of our norms had become to start to use Zoom and to go into a Zoom room for everything. But the look of this, as you can see from the frame, the branding, the contact information on the bottom was just so well done that it really got me thinking about how could we incorporate this on our individual campus. So what that really led me to was a service called StreamYard. I'm actually recording this session right now via StreamYard as well, but Melissa had used it for the session that she had done back in August. But what StreamYard is it's a live streaming broadcast studio. You also have the option to record videos and improve the look of them, which is what I'm doing as I'm recording this pre-recording this session for you all. But when you use it live, it essentially is a multi-platform streaming service where you can send your information or you can send your live stream to multiple entities. So you can stream to Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, LinkedIn, more, and a lot more different groups. And you can also send them to more than one. So based on whether you have a professional plan, a basic plan, or a professional plan, it'll help you it'll dictate how many different places you can send it to. It's also cloud-based, so there's no downloads for users, which was really appealing for us. We know that, as people turn to this virtual environment, they were needing to download a lot of different software. When we decided to use StreamYard and decided to look into this a little bit further, it was really, really appealing because we knew that our users and the people that we were interviewing or engaging with in programs weren't going to have to download anything else. They were just going to have to allow access to their mic and camera. It's really user-friendly. It's super duper simple to use. It's very affordable. For us, it was also really appealing because it automatically saved all of our recordings or live streams that we did. And quite bluntly, it's not Zoom. It looks much more polished, much more professional than what sometimes comes out of Zoom. There's no Zoom logo in the background or in the bottom corner. And it was just something that was a little bit more appealing for our students. So I wanted to take a second here and show you a little bit about what the service does and what the platform or what the software looks like. So this is the back of house view of what StreamYard looks like. So there's a lot of different features that you can change throughout the software. So as you see here, we've got some customized branding. I've changed it for this stream to be the city of Chicago skyline, but in this example, I had a different background in place. You can also change all of your overlays. So you can put different information about what your event title is, what's going on, and different forms and facets there. Then, like I mentioned, you can change your background. So you can, again, customize it just a little bit further. You can also change your layouts. So there's, as you've seen through my presentation here so far, there's a multitude of different ways that you can format it so that it can be most effective and most efficient for what you're trying to showcase. Then you also can do, some simple little things. You can choose to show names. You don't have to show names. You also, though, have the option to put banners on screen. So you can put scrolling tickers on the bottom, or you can show larger things and larger information as you're going throughout. You can also change in stream. So just, again, it's a way to elevate the look of things. Then a really unique feature is that you also have this opportunity that as you're starting to stream to one of the different sites, YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, whatever it might be, you can show their comments in real time. So it does allow for a two-way interaction for people to go from it's not just a one-way communication where you're putting information out. People can interact back with you. So they can ask questions, they can interact in real time. So when I initially found the software, I thought like, this is going to cost so much. There's no way that we're going to be able to afford this. But as I'm showcasing here, it actually is really quite affordable. We started with the basic plan, which only cost us around $25 a month. There's actually even a discount if you buy an annual subscription. We ended up upgrading our system to the professional just because it gave us a couple more options, namely this opportunity to do multi-streaming for up to 8 locations, which you'll hear me talk about why we utilize that as I dive into a few examples here. But I share this because I think that there's oftentimes a this preconceived notion that sometimes that, things like this and, the looks of things like this are just unattainable, particularly for small schools who might not have small budgets. But this is, in my opinion, is really, really affordable. The amount of times that we're using StreamYard, this has paid for itself tenfold. And we use it for a lot of different programs at DePaul. So I wanted to take a little bit of time here and talk a little bit about how we used it, how we piloted it, and how we're using it now. So initially, when we started this, we piloted a streaming series actually through our esports program. We in the Office of Student Involvement at DePaul oversees esports. So we started with a program called the Esports Career Chats, which was a 9-week series with different industry leaders throughout the esports industry. We streamed it live to our Facebook page and our Twitch. And the thing that was really amazing for us was that we averaged 250 views a week. So for our entire series, we had over 2,000 views and touch points, which was exactly what we were looking for. We were looking for a new and different way to really connect with our students. So from this, what it really got us reflecting about and thinking on was how could we utilize this new technology that we had and that we had access to benefit our students and benefit their student experience. So we really saw this as a reimagined delivery method for how we were delivering some of our student activities. So like I talked about how back in March we had those buckets, this was a new and different way for us to deliver programs and services deliver programs and talk about our services at DePaul to our students. So the other thing that was really unique about this was we took a page out of our colleagues in academic affairs book and saw this as a way to offer synchronous and asynchronous programs. When we talk about classes at DePaul, we oftentimes talk about them as asynchronous, meaning they're happening in real time, or synchronous, meaning they're happening in real time, or asynchronous, meaning they're happening at a time that's convenient for our students. Well, this streaming, utilizing streaming for student engagement was a way for us to mirror what was going on in the classroom. Students could tune into a stream live where they could interact with a speaker or with a program in real time, or they could choose to watch it at a time that was convenient for them. They could watch it 10 minutes later, they could watch it an hour later, they could watch it, at 2 o'clock in the morning if they really wanted to, whatever time really worked for them. So it was just a new and innovative way for us to engage our students and to facilitate programs in a space of somewhere that they were already meeting. I think all of us are well aware that our students spend a lot of time on social media. This is just a new delivery method. Instead of getting them to have to go into a Zoom room, we were bringing the program to them through our Facebook pages, our YouTube channels, some websites, and some other things that way. So the final thing that I'd share about this is that it also really gave us a way to reimagine and redefine what our how we talked about our numbers and how we talked about our data. At DePaul, our community is very committed to collecting what we call verifiable data, meaning we can attach a swipe data to it, we can attach an ID number, we can collect information on students about who is attending our programs. Well, in this virtual environment, we were doing a lot of things that like we knew were getting out there and we knew students were watching, but it wasn't always creating that verifiable data tracking. So this gave us a way to pivot our conversation to talk about two different things. So one, we started talking about real-time community building events as those sources where we were receiving verifiable data. And then we started talking about virtual engagement experiences, which were these streams that we were doing and other online offerings, because we know that there is value and merit to it. And we know that our students in particular are the main audience for those. But this gave us just a little bit of weight in being able to talk about that. So for the remainder of our time together, I just wanted to talk a little bit about some of the virtual experiences and some of the streams that we started doing. So one of the first ways that we started doing, or the main ways I think that we started diving into things was during our welcome week. So we started with our welcome week, what ended up being about 2.5 weeks long, and we had a number of different streaming series every single day. This one pictured in the top corner is from a series called Get to Know DePaul, where we did interviews with different offices and individuals that were important for our students to get to know. Then we had a second one with Connecting to Chicago, where we interviewed different people to talk about the setup and structures of Chicago, or talk about different locations throughout the city as well. Just a way for people to get exposure to the city without necessarily being here. We know that they will eventually be here, so we thought that that was an important offering, but just a great way for them to connect. And then we also saw this as a way for us to give our vendors some ways to connect with students that were otherwise struggling. We have Wintrust Bank on campus here. They're used to having orientation, tabling in our student center, all of those different things. Well, as part of our sponsorship package with them this year, we're able to offer some of these streams and some of these experiences in a reimagined way so that they can connect with our students. Then one of my favorite things that we did this past fall was the virtual engagement for student org series. So this is why earlier I talked about how we upgraded from our basic to our professional plan, and it was really because of this series. So what we did was we partnered with 3 other universities, Maryville University, University of Central Oklahoma, and Simpson College, to offer the virtual engagement for student org series. And what we did was we brought together all of the different professionals and said, you know what, we're going to offer a 6-week workshop series that we're going to live stream to all of our different university accounts. And all of us, we're going to have different staff members from each institution come together for different weeks. We don't all have to be there for every single week, but we were able to fill this full, robust series with different professionals from different universities, and then put it back out to all of our different university communities, which I think was really spectacular. It was an innovative way to use the technology to really benefit a number of different institutions in a non-traditional format. Then we have spent quite a bit of time focusing on reimagining some traditional student activities. So these are 2 examples from our DePaul activities board. The picture on the left is from what would normally be a coffee house, but it is a virtual coffee house series that we're doing called Gather Around the Campfire, where the students will have live music performers come in and perform, and just perform live music so that students can enjoy it wherever they are. And then the second is from a chalking festival that we did, that we had a chalking artist who was, doing a live stream, and then we had students participate remotely and chalk from wherever they were as well. So these are common activities that we would have normally done on our campuses, but we've reimagined them to be in a virtual environment, and we leveraged live streaming to really take advantage of to get the word out to as many students as we possibly could. Then we also thought a lot about series programming. Again, we know that this is a staple of the traditional college student experience. So we thought about how could we do this in this new and different environment. So one of the ways that we did it was through a series through our Student Government Association called the Civic Engagement and Social Change series. So in this series, they had about 7 weeks where every Tuesday at 5 5:30 p.m. They had different people from around the city, different social agencies come together and answer questions about how to be civically engaged, or why it's important to be civically engaged, and how to be a social activist. So they did it every single week. Again, it was a great way to continuously get information out there. They had great viewership numbers, and they were also, the other thing that I think that was really unique from this was that all of the different speakers were then able to help promote the programs following their conclusion. So instead of it, living in a Zoom room and, being done when it was over, our presenters and the people who joined in would share them then via their social channels. So that's also helping to promote the profile of DePaul and amplify the voice of our students here on campus. Then we also started doing some one-off events through this series. So these, I think, were really unique, and this also offered a new and different technology than what we were doing in the past. So like I mentioned before, it is important for us here at DePaul to collect some verifiable data. So we were using the StreamYard software and this streaming option for some one-off events. Namely, these are a couple that we had featured. The top one here is a program that we did called Lessons in Leadership from Banned Books. And what we started doing with some of these programs is we would have a QR code check-in that we utilize through our student engagement platform, which is called D-Hub, which is managed by Campus Groups, where students could check into a program and we could collect that verifiable data. So we do it a couple of different ways. The first of which is we'll do an overlay where we'll leave the QR code on the screen for the entirety of the program, or our students will create a graphic prior to the start and at the conclusion of the event where people can check in as well. It's been a really effective way for us to collect that information and collect that data so that we can continue to know who is attending our programs and really again, utilize that data so that we can be more informed about how and what we should be doing in the future. This has also been utilizing streaming has also been a really great way for us to allow our students to create and organize panels and to really give them that sense of purpose for, for their student organizations. We know that planning events on campus is a very traditional part of the student organization experience. And that was something that was really, missing and lacking from them. So we've started working more and more with student organizations to help them plan virtual events so that, again, they can have that sense of accomplishment and that sense of contribution to the DePaul community. So these are two panels that we helped student organizations facilitate towards the end of the quarter. The one on the left is from an organization called Her CDM that they organized a panel called Women in Tech in collaboration with Dell Technologies. And then the one on the right is from a panel organized by our Student Government Association called Self-Care for Political Stress and Anxiety. Again, they had these concepts and they wanted to figure out a way to get the messages out there. And we just helped them to provide it through this new and innovative software system. So another program and series that we're doing right now through live streaming is called 90 Stories for 90 Years. So our fraternity and sorority life community is celebrating its 90th birthday this year. They've been around for 90 years at DePaul. So throughout the course of the year, what they're doing is they're interviewing 90 different people or collecting 90 different stories about our FSL community. So they're utilizing live streaming for all of that. Again, it's the same concept of they're collecting it and then they're having these FSL communities then go and share and amplify the story. So that share button is a really great way for us to promote our story and promote our message. So it's been a great way for us to get the word out about our FSL community. Then I think one of the other benefits that we've found over time of utilizing streaming is that there are these, multitude of different ways that we can have students access our programs and events. So I've mentioned before, we figured out how to live stream to social media. We can live stream to Facebook pages, Facebook groups, Twitch, YouTube, all sorts of different sites. But what we've also found out is that we can now also stream our programs directly to websites. So we have you can go in and you can, prepare a broadcast to YouTube or Twitch, and it'll generate a code for that individual broadcast. So now what we've started doing is we've started telling people our programs are at this website. So this is an example from a couple weeks ago. Our DePaul Activities Board and our esports program both had back-to-back programs. And we, instead of saying like, go to this Facebook page, go to this Facebook page, go here, go here, go here, we were able to just say, go to the DEN, which is called it's our digital engagement network, which the website is just go.depaul.edu/den. And students could watch all of those programs and experience them and interact with them from one single site. So having the ability to do this instead of, having to make sure that they have the exact Zoom link or this exact thing, just having it in one solid location has been really, really helpful for us, and has been helpful for our students to know where to go so that they can experience whatever programs DePaul is putting out there. So one other thing, and this is kind of funny now, there's 3 little pictures of me here. But just like I'm recording this presentation, we've also started utilizing this software to do weekly overview videos. This software, in my personal opinion, I hope you agree, looks much more polished than recording something in Zoom. I, right now, am sharing a PowerPoint on my screen, and I'm clicking through it, and it's appearing on screen, but it just looks so much more polished than, the black background of Zoom. You can have, and you've probably noticed throughout this, you can have a multitude of different layouts as well. You can have it so that you just have a person presenting. You can have it look like this. You can have it where the presentation is larger. You can have it where the presentation fills up the whole screen. But really, it's just I think a way to elevate the look of what you're doing, which, when I believe is in student affairs and student activities, when our things look more polished, look more professional, they're going to be more well received, and people are going to be more likely to watch it. So having that ability to really increase the look of our even our recorded sessions and what we're putting out, I think has been really, really helpful for us. So with that, that's all of my information for today. I wanted to thank you all for taking the time to listen in. I hope that you consider live streaming for your events moving forward. For us here at DePaul, it's been a really spectacular way for us to connect in a new and different way with our students and with our community. And it's been really beneficial for us to dive into this. Like I said earlier, it is not that hard to figure out. If you spend, 15, 20 minutes in a live streaming software, you will be able to figure this out relatively quickly. StreamYard is the preferred one that we use and that we found. There's also other ones out there. OBS is a great system. It's free to use as well. It's a little bit more complicated. So the nominal cost for StreamYard is worth it for us for ease of use for us as event coordinators. But if you have any questions or if I can further assist you, feel free to let me know. My contact information is located right here. My email is courtney.james@depaul.edu. If you want to check out some of our streams and check out some of our previous events, you can also find all of them online, right? That's the beauty of doing this. Our Facebook is facebook.com/DPU student involvement, or you can check out our YouTube channel that has all of our previously recorded streams at DePaul University student involvement. But until next time, best of luck, everyone. Stay safe. And thanks again for joining.